everyone. Thanks for being with us here today. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving break. Thanks for joining us for Humanities at Play. My name is Kathleen Kuo, and I'm a program manager with Nevada Humanities, which is our state's council partner for the National Endowment for the Humanities. With Humanities at Play, our goal is to pair gameplay and other interactive activities with thoughtful discussions about the humanities and how they enrich our everyday lives. A couple quick notes before we get started today. If you're a first-time Twitch user, welcome in. Thanks so much for being with us today. If you would like to chat with us and ask questions, I encourage you to make a free account, and that way you can chat and ask questions of our special guest today on stream, or chat and share your observations about the game we'll be playing. Also, if you're a newer user of Twitch, we have a very fun feature called a chat command, which is an exclamation point followed by a keyword. We have a list of commands that you're welcome to try out in our chat. They're listed in the About section on our Twitch and also in a title. And I also already see a few of you trying them out, so thanks for doing that. Today, I am super excited to be joined by Dave Burnham. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hi, great. Happy to be here.
Great. I'm glad. Dave is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Nevada, Reno. He taught previously at the University of Chicago, which is where he received his PhD in 2021. His research focuses on experimental and documentary cinema, 20th century philosophy, and theories of realism and modernism. He's currently writing a book that attempts to work out a theory of realism applicable to contemporary work in experimental film and video. And he's also published related research in Discourse. And we're going to get into a little bit more about what that all entails over the course of our stream. But yeah, for now, Dave, how are you doing?
Fantastic. I'm really good.
I'm glad. Yeah, that's I laugh because we've had a couple U Chicago people now on our stream, and just like unintentionally, I always find out about this like after I get to meet them. But I went to U Chicago as an undergraduate, but you went there for your PhD, so we had vastly different experiences. But it's always nice
Yeah.
to meet someone else who spent time in Chicago. That place really, really shapes you.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it did for me. Yeah, absolutely.
So the game that Dave and I are going to be playing today, it's called Norco, and I'm curious if anyone out here has played it. If you have, let us know. But if not, I think you're in for a treat. So Norco is an award-winning game that came out last year in 2022. It was developed by Geography of Robots and published by Raw Fury. The game takes place in an alternate version of Norco, Louisiana, a real place, and we play the part of Kay, who is a woman who decided to return home after her mother's death, and we'll sort of explore a little bit more about that over the course of the game. So Norco, this is really cool. It grew out of a multimedia documentary work by its developer Yutz, which is a pseudonym from 2015, which incorporated writing, interviews, and audiovisual components, and it focused on the impact of Hurricane Katrina on Louisiana and its landscape. And part of this project was this side-scrolling game where a robot tries to get into a refinery in Norco, and this game then eventually evolved into the Norco that we're playing today. The game incorporates field recordings by a friend of the development team that were taken around Baton Rouge. So while we're playing, try to see if you can listen to the background and pick out some noises. And then one more fun fact for the gamers among us: the developer of the game said that Midgar was actually, which is, if you played any of the Final Fantasy games, and specifically Final Fantasy VII, you'll know of Midgar. The fictional city Midgar was one of the influences of this game, among other things. Midgar is a highly stratified city that's controlled by a power company, and it gave the developer an idea or a framework for understanding how both industry and industrial disasters are distributed across society. And he was also influenced by Mike Davis, who is a Marxist scholar and a critical geographer, and he wrote about the intersection between environmental and social issues. So there's lots here to think about. I'm really excited to dive first into the first little bit of Norco today with Dave. Really wonderful to see everyone in chat. Dave, I'm a little bit curious. So you, of course, you are a cinema and media studies person. You're interested in experimental film. I guess before we dive into the game, is there anything you'd like us to maybe look for or think about? Or we can also, get into this once you start the game.
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I think that the thing that I've been thinking about a lot with this game is like why the pixel art is an appropriate sort of style for this kind of thing. The idea that Yutz is a geographer and is really curious about like trying to access some sort of commentary about the real New Orleans
Mm-hmm.
and like the real Norco,
Yeah.
which is an actual place. And why that sort of pixel art style is sort of relevant to that kind of geographical project. So I'm really curious about that. And then I'm also curious about the sort of way that the point and click thing operates in terms of having these like really static compositions that are really detailed, and like which details the game wants you to notice and participate with, and which it sort of tries to hide or disguise or other kinds of things, because it just relates to, I think, this kind of cinematic style about, as a viewer, you are often with experimental work encouraged to sort of choose which aspect of the frame you pay attention to, as opposed to more narrative driven things, which sort of call out what it is you're supposed to be focusing on. So those two things are what I'm really curious about, what other people think about how the game works those ideas out.
That's awesome. Yeah, we can. I'm gonna get the game started, but it's great to see that we have someone in chat whose minor was in cinema and media studies from UNR. So I think we'll
Oh,
have a lot to discuss. All right, I'm gonna get the game
cool.
started.
Welcome.
Yeah, super excited. And yeah, let us know in chat if you've ever heard of Norco, or alternatively, if you've ever been to Louisiana/New Orleans, which is where this game was inspired. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up. Okay, and then Dave, I'm just gonna get you back.
Okie doke.
All right, I should be back. Okay. Let us know too if the sound is too loud. But yeah, here we go. We're about to enter Norco.
Yeah.
Maybe just before we stop, or before we start the game, I love this intro screen. Again, sort of that pixely art that you mentioned, and I can hear sort of the sounds, those real field recordings of Louisiana, which is very cool.
Yeah, the like gas burning jets is pretty great. I've heard a lot about like this opening shot and this opening sequence as the sort of like Southern Gothic Blade Runner,
Okay.
which if you've ever seen, particularly the opening shot of Blade Runner, it's really reminiscent actually, which is like this cool, dystopian city with all these lights shining and jets of flame burning actually as well.
That's the future. All right, I'm gonna get the game started. Shield hid the stars behind halogen and flame projected onto the sky every night. There was no such thing as silence. The noise never went away. The refinery exhaled an endless sigh. Oh, okay, we are confronted with our first decision. Should we say, I could never sleep, it was so loud, or I still can't sleep without that sound? Do you think this is something that we miss, or is it sort of a bothersome reminder of our past here?
I think the can't sleep without.
Okay, I still can't sleep without that sound. You often dreamed that the towers were cathedrals, that the swamps listened when you spoke, that the birds became radiant spheres while circling Norco's sky. Oh, wow. I love this. You spent your adolescence...
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah, you spent your adolescence sleepwalking between little devastating rituals. Though Blake pleaded, you decided to leave. Yeah, so already I feel like, super cinematic. I feel like I really am like watching a movie, or very, very cool animation.
Yeah, this specific technique that they use a lot of the sort of compositing in a face in the background in the sky is like exactly used in the Coppola Dracula, which I watched over Thanksgiving break.
Okay.
Actually,
I haven't seen that
if anyone's
Dracula.
ever seen that.
I need to.
It's great, and it's this very specific like old style cinema special effect. So it was like totally practical.
Love it. Oh, okay. So should I say I knew he'd get over it? I didn't care.
Ooh, I didn't care. I'm feeling a little...
But for a while, you did. You caught out on a grainer to Chicago and onward to the West Coast, thinking you'd never return. You wandered through the overlit suburbs of the vast American limbo. It's a good way to describe it. Thumbing down 99, you saw an old man crouched in a roadside ditch. He was mouthing your name. He had a familiar gaze. He was gone when you wiped the sleep from your eyes. Another one of those faces.
Yeah.
You spoke to Blake, learning of your mother's declining health, her insomnia, or erratic behavior. Ooh. The way they portray faces, it's so
Really scary.
eerie. You ignored the urgency in your brother's voice. You headed east. You threw your phone into the Rio Grande and joined the armies of the Mesa. For months, you were in the company of fugitives, sleeping in nuclear tunnels, repairing engines and weaponry. Oh, I like how they, at the bottom of the screen, where it says we're in Albuquerque. It's a cool way to denote where we are. Yeah. The war was a meme that set Albuquerque on fire. You escaped while the foot soldiers of Papa Bunta bloodied the parched land. This is also really, I like the pixel art. I really like it.
Yeah.
While hiding in a Freightliner, ooh, I prayed, I slept, I forget. What do you think we should say?
I've read a lot about this choice, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know
yeah.
there's more about it. Interesting. Tell us.
Well, it's so like the game is in a serious way about religion,
Okay.
and it's sort of about like South Central America's relationship to Christianity.
Okay.
So I think we should choose I prayed.
Okay. While hiding in a Freightliner, prayed. You held the cross around your neck and mouthed a prayer to God. You called home from a landline in a motel somewhere beyond Texas. You knew from Blake's hello that your mother was already dead. You hung up, shouldered your bag, returned to the highway. 5 years had passed. You made your way back home. Act 1. Lower Coast. You awake from a delirious dream to find yourself in your childhood bedroom. A monkey watches you from the corner. Okay, so here goes the point and click part of this game. Oh, I like the eyes.
So the eyes are what we can look closer at, right?
Yeah. Let's try this flyer. A flyer from a show your friend put on a few weeks before you left town. A fight broke out while one of the opening bands played. Ooh, I got whipped in the face with a bike chain, or I was outside.
Maybe I was outside.
Okay. You didn't feel like being around crowds that night. After the show, you and Blake walked the river back to Norco. You watched the sunrise over the grain elevators. Okay. You assume Million has been keeping the plants alive. These books. Among the books on the shelf is a slim volume called Crisis LARPing.
Okay.
I think I should read it. I don't know what Crisis
I think
LARPing
we should read it, yeah.
Proto-disaster tourism began almost as soon as the floodwaters left. Punks from across the country ventured into the Ninth Ward, Chinchille, St. Bernard, and finally the East. They curated a theatrical self-portrait of their lives in the ruins. Wow, the writers of this game have really gone all out.
They are serious.
The aesthetics of disaster were central to that emerging milieu. It began to percolate into popular culture. Collapse became the zeitgeist. Wise investors recuperated the experience of disaster. New Orleans became a plastic dystopia, a marketplace for crisis. Okay, I don't think I learned about crisis LARPing, but that was a fun discovery. In chat, Ostrich writes, good pixel art is timeless. It ages very well compared to very complex 3D graphics. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I've read that.
A sticker from grade school half peeled from the window. Okay, so we have computer.
Oh, so we can actually touch stuff too, right? Yeah.
Let's hang out with Monkey. Oh, that's scary. Monkey, your best friend, a childhood gift. You spoke with him often when things got difficult, but then you left. He sat here for 5 years collecting dust. 5 years. His eyes fill with anger as he challenges you to return his gaze. Oh, staring contest, part 1. Glyphs.
Oh, I think you're going to have to do some gaming, actually.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought we were already doing some gaming. Glyphs will appear and flash a pattern. Match the pattern to meet Monkey's gaze. Okay. I am ready. Yes. Ooh, okay. Okay, I got this. You successfully met Monkey's gaze with a cool assurance. However, his expression is unchanged. You stare more intensely. Those piercing eyes, right? Sierra Sunrise. These are great. Staring contest part 2. Rings. Circles will appear over monkey's eyes. An outer ring will shrink to the perimeter of the circle. Click the circle when it locks into place. Ready? I have to be. Oh.
Yeah. You got it.
Scary. Anger melts from monkey's face. Well, we gotta take monkey.
Yeah. Does monkey look different now?
Yeah,
after you've done that?
I think his eyes became just a little bit like green at the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so monkey's over our shoulder. Okay. Yeah, here's monkey. That's funny that now.
Oh no, he's with us.
Yeah.
Is that us above him?
Yeah, let's find out after this. Yeah, I can't get there right now, but I bet it is. The laptop your Parain, I don't know this word. Parain gifted you idols on a shoddy particle board desk. Can someone look this up for me? I'm wondering what that means. Do you know what this means, Dave?
I don't know what it means. I assumed it was kind of like an in-game, like future lingo kind of thing.
Yeah. Fake laptop. As the screen illuminates, you notice that the signal in the house is dead. No internet. It looks like Blake was using a computer at some point. He left a browser tab open. Well, of course we have to view it.
We have to view tab.
It'd be really nosy, yeah. Okay, so it looks like a bunch of messages. I don't think I'm going to read this one. Just scroll up to the top. Okay. As I slowly scroll down, some messages are funny. Dave, do you have a background in playing video games? Like I'm asking this because I'm wondering about I feel like with some games people are very much completionists. Like you have to click everything, you have to talk to everyone, while others are they just kind of speed through it. It's not central to their goal. And I'm wondering what kind of gamer personality you have.
I am a devout completionist.
Okay.
So I don't play a ton of games. Yeah, no, we're gonna have to click on a lot. Yeah. It's one of the symptoms of my OCD is that I do need to know about everything that's on the screen if I can. I'm definitely like a 100%er on open world games.
Okay, we'll do our best to click on. Okay, this is us. It says you at the bottom.
So that is us, okay.
Mind map. This is a mind map. You. Ooh, okay. Maybe we have to fill in a little bit more about our character. Let's say we're traveling or our home again. What do you think I should say?
I guess we should start with our home again.
Okay. And thank you, Silver, for looking at it. So Parain is French for godparent. Okay, so our godparent.
Okay.
Okay, so we are home again because our brother needs us because your mom died.
Right.
You have a similar tendency. You got to complete every side quest first. I know, that's the fun. I love side quests. It's the reason I never finished Skyrim, because I had to do everything except for the main quest.
Oh, same. I had to give up because there was too much to do.
I also haven't finished it. Okay, this is the other option side. You were traveling, through the Midwest, across the Rockies, or down the Pacific coast. Let's say through the Midwest.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, as a Chicagoan.
Yeah. The freight cars rattled in the cold dusk as he crouched on the greener porch. Okay. Suburbs, fences, traffic, flat country, all passing for miles. Okay, I'll say, then what? He rode in the back of a van from Chicago to Des Moines. I literally just did this trip a couple days ago. Except not in the back of a van, in the front seat of a car. You stole a heater from Walmart and brought it to the poorly attended house show. Des Moines to Kansas City to Denver. Okay, we'll just go down the list.
So that's our Midwest. Yeah.
Across the Rockies. Your friends went south and you were glad to be alone. You spent long nights on those highways. Shitty sleeping bag. Okay, down the Pacific coast. You were in California when the summer arrived. You recall the familiar smile on the face of the old man in the Central Valley ditch. Okay, so this is where it kind of pays off to be a completionist, because as we do this, more spots are unlocking in our mind map.
Yeah.
That smile burned its image into your mind.
So now he stays in our mind map.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we did the rest of you. So now we have Blake, Catherine. Maybe that's her mom. And Ditch Man. Ooh, and this is really eerie. Do you see in the back these faces? Oh, they're kind of disappearing now, but face is here and it's this man.
Yeah, like really like sort of desaturated outlines of people.
Yeah. What's the ditch man? The smile of the man who crouched in a ditch of the highway revisits your mind. His head was smudged with Wednesday ashes and mascara ran from his eyes. Okay. Our brother, is a lot or is oblivious?
Both kind of negative.
Yeah, I'll say he's a lot. Younger, reckless, gets in trouble, spends sleepless nights scrolling. Oh, well, that's familiar. I also scroll. Edgelord, sensitive, compassionate, foolish, can't take criticism, always needs money, tries to help those he loves, but often makes things worse. What else? Insecure, dysmorphic, constantly checking his reflection, always seeking validation. Wow, Kay is really like, she has a lot of insights about her brother.
Yeah.
Was terrified of you leaving, now he's terrified of you dying. Oh, okay. We can either be, we can say he needs to get over it, or when I think of him, I just feel guilt.
Oh boy. It seems like a big choice.
Yeah.
I'd say he needs to get over it.
Okay, we'll be a little bit harsh. You're all the family he's got. Tough love. Your brother. Okay, we'll do the next path. Your brother is oblivious. Your grandma once said that she didn't expect much from Blake. She said he was short-tempered, oblivious, and couldn't focus. Blake was sitting in the chair across from her, staring down at a tablet. After she left the room, you asked him how he felt. I feel fine, he said. Why? Because of what Gran said, you responded. He looked confused. What'd she say? Oh, no. Oh, Blake. Your brother. Okay. It's awesome. Okay, Catherine is our mother. Your mom. There's just one. Your mom died. The cancer metastasized. It was in her liver, then her lungs, then it was in her brain. She was on chemo, never finished her 3rd course. At the hospice on Jefferson Highway, Blake said the traffic shook the building. He left before she drew her last breath. Alone with a morphine drip and a rattling glass, that's how Catherine died. Your mom. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm guessing that, the mind map must fill in as we go. Let's go to the living room. There's a little map down here. I think we've covered everything else in this room. And if you see somewhere that you want me to pause or click on, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just start from left to right. Okay, couch. Memories of sleepless nights. Your mom sitting here staring through the window. There was a tension in her demeanor, as if you were interrupting some urgent and obligatory task. You'd continue to the kitchen with no words exchanged. What do you think I should say?
Oh man. But those nights were rare.
Many of them you don't remember.
Okay. I love the music in this room.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really cool they've crafted this game. A family photo album. Of course we have to look.
Definitely look, yeah.
Yellowing pages of disposable photographs. Your grandfather, a peculiar look on his face impossible to read, and our mind map just updated.
Yeah.
Your mom staring at Blake through the obscure lighting. He's dressed as a vampire, tugging at someone's waist, pleated khaki shorts. And I was just thinking the other day about how, well, I don't know about you or other people, but I feel like photo albums don't really exist anymore, like physical ones. I feel like nowadays they're just like, on our phone or on like Facebook or Instagram. We don't really have like the physical photo albums, which is what I used to love when I was younger. I would go through we had like tons of them at my house.
My dad's mom was an obsessive photo album maker, and they were like so important to me and my cousins as kids to see like our parents' generation at our age and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know in chat if you had photo albums when you were growing up, or if you still have them today. A photo labeled Duck. Scene of a barbecue on a lakefront. The man at the center points playfully at the camera, his face obscured. Turn the page and there's Blue, your father, though you've never thought of him that way. Easy smile on his face, a canister of dip shoved into his front pocket. He set the book aside.
Laundry.
Your mom's unfolded laundry. Oh, yeah, this is a little bit sad. That one detail with books. You peruse the titles on a bookshelf. Western margin of the lake, or fenceline diaspora. I'll just go from top to bottom. Many tragedies have come to pass along the western margin of Lake Pontchartrain. The unnamed hurricane of YW9D left the settlements of Frenier and Lebranche in a state of unrecognizable destruction. Those who survived did so by clinging for their lives to the limbs of cypress trees. I feel like this is where we kind of see the developers of the game they're drawing upon their experience working with natural disasters in the Southeast.
Yeah, do we know what YWND is?
Yeah, can someone look YW9D up for us? I'm curious if this is like if it's a place or what that means. In chat, Sarah says, yeah, my parents have literally bins of photo albums, everything from early childhood and all vacations together. I try to replicate those stacks of albums, but digitally. Very cool. Yeah, I think it's so important because, yeah, once they're lost, they're lost. So sometimes it's nice to scan albums or just share those photos. The fables and secrets of those communities lie with the bones now scattered in the sediment of the lake. I'm just reading that sentence again because I like it.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's so interesting the way that the like composition of the writing is like a balance between that like geographic information and then the like most poetic version of events possible.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. In the end, we decided to leave Duns. It wasn't the cat cracker, or the smells, or the fear for our children's health that drove us away, although they played a part. Truth be told, it was the media attention, the spokespeople and activists and academics and all this. I was done with it. I was done being a poster child, done being thought of as a victim. I wanted my experience to be my own, not something to gawk at or dissect in a laboratory. Okay. Ostrich says you're not seeing anything on YW9D. Might just be game lore. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the book's photograph. A photo of your mom holding Blake as a baby on a beach in Pensacola, Florida. It's winter. You stand beside them, bundled up and laughing as a gust of wind rakes the beach. The sky is bone white. Just imagining this in Florida, just like a white sky. It's a little bit eerie because I feel like the sky should be blue. It was really cold at that time. Your mom still has your baby photo albums and early years photos. That must be fun to look at every once in a while. Okay, we can go outside. We'll click on a television before we choose to go outside. An old defective flat screen that your mom never bothered to bring to the curb. Are you picky about your TVs, Dave? As like a media, like a cinema person? Like...
Oh, I'm embarrassingly not, actually. My friends who are like serious cinephiles would shudder in horror if they saw how I watched most of my movies at home.
How is that? Is that on your laptop or?
No, I do have a TV. Okay. I do have a TV, no but judgment. It's like 15 years old at this point. I do have a sound bar, which is very important to me.
Okay.
But it's pretty cheap and low tech. It looks a lot like that, actually.
Oh, there's no shame. You turn on a television. A chaotic distortion of your mother's memories flash before you. Your mother's memories are on TV. Oh, wow. Is this real footage?
Whoa. Looks like it. Although, like, very distorted.
Yeah. I think it's on loop, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty short little loop.
Yeah. What do you think?
Of like something burning?
Oh. Okay, so here it seems like more kind of pixely art. I wonder if these are based on also like real.
The steam and the smoke in this one and the flames in the other one look not like pixel art, like maybe actually photographic.
Yeah.
And then this is, I think, photo. Like pixelated because cheap video, not because made in computer.
Yeah. This is really eerie. You know, when you play a video game, you're immersed into that world, and then you're shown like real, like, you know, a different quality.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how it's interesting that they describe the photos to us instead of letting us see them.
Yeah.
And so this is really a wild choice.
Yeah, so these are, again, distorted memories from our mother. It's kind of eerie how with this figure, like we get so close to seeing their face and then they disappear. Okay, now we're back.
We got back to the beginning.
Yeah. Wow.
Why are these on the TV?
Oh, yeah, I don't know how our mom's memories got to be on the TV. I wonder if our mind map says anything. Oh, we have Blue, our father, Pops Pierre, or Duck. Oh,
Duck.
Yeah, click on Duck. Oh, I thought it was a real duck. An old friend of your mom's. Your memory of him is scattered and vague. Blue. It's a vague memory. You don't remember Blue, only the things he left behind. Photographs, cologne, tools, the name that your mother kept. Even the pictures that have survived are too faded to make out. Okay. Pops. Your grandfather, Pops Peter Hong passed away when you were a teenager. He seemed to court controversy, though as a child you never understood why. Okay, this is the front yard of our house. Here's Mary. Oh yeah, you were saying this game has like a strong religious base.
Yeah.
Your grandfather's statue of the Virgin Mary sits in the shadows along the crawl space of the house. Cat. Your mom fed the neighborhood strays. They must be hungry since she passed. House. 3 times this house is flooded. Okay, the first flood. The first flood is barely a memory. Placing your feet on drenched carpet, your mom and grandfather ripping out sheetrock, sitting in a small RV in the backyard, setting dolls on a cluttered table. I've never been in a flood, have you?
No.
Yeah, I can see that'd be really scary. You were 14.
Yeah.
The pumping station failed during a heavy rain. You're in class watching the clouds move upriver. You got a text message from your mom. Saying Destrahan, I'll come get you. For 2 weeks, you shared a hotel room with your mom in the lake. She spent all her days gutting the house. In the evenings, you would sometimes help. Wow, their house flooded 3 times. Another pump failure. Your mom hired contractors with the insurance money. She said she was getting too old for it. You were bitter. You blamed her for not selling the house sooner. You stayed with friends and cousins. Oh, 4th flood. The 4th flood will follow a slow hurricane. It will be a calamity. That's really cool how if you do the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the 4th unlocks as an option.
Yeah.
It will leave
And the 4th is projective. It's the future.
Yeah, really apocalyptic. It will leave the entire region submerged as a critical levees breach. There will be a massive blackout that lasts weeks. Much of the sewerage infrastructure will be damaged beyond repair. The embattled federal government will do nothing to assist. It will bankrupt the region. Small militant enclaves will form along the high ground of the Mississippi River. They'll take to piracy and hijack commercial shipping vessels. Private mercenary forces will retaliate in kind. Slowly, industry will flee this hot zone. The old river control structure will collapse from neglect and sabotage. The Mississippi River will again change its course. Norco, an old abandoned refinery town on a ghost river. Your house will be squatted and then raised. Ooh. I kind of want to go back to that. Can I go back to... Well, maybe I won't because it's a lot, but I wish... That's a lot to think about. Do you think that's like a real projection of the future, or is it like our protagonist just projecting her own thoughts?
That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about that distinction. Like how much of the prose is like hers as opposed to ours.
Yeah, like omnipotent. Like this is what actually happens versus what she thinks will happen. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna turn.
I'm also like...
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I'm having such a hard time getting a timeline going in terms of like, how old do you think we are as a character? We were 14 in the 2nd flood, and then we were gone for 5 years at some point, presumably as a young adult, and now we're back, like 20s?
Yeah, maybe like late 20s. I feel like we're not super old. We still love our pet monkey. I wonder if they'll reveal this fact over the course of the game. Sierra writes, As a Nevadan, I've never been in a flood, but a fair share of earthquakes. Oh wow. I think this is a joke. I was in like the Great Illinois Chicago earthquake of, I want to say 2012 or not 2012. It was 2008 maybe. There were a bunch of memes of like a lawn chair tipping over. Like it was very faint, but there was an earthquake one year when I was in Chicago. Um, oh, what statue? Ooh,
Oh,
Mary. We observe the weathered concrete and flaking paint of the statue. Should we inspect further or kneel and pray?
well, if we started with praying, maybe we should keep it going.
You begin to recite the prayer that you've whispered hundreds of times as a child. Hail Mary, full of...
I think this one's Grace.
Okay. Wow, I wonder what would happen if we chose Spite. This is like a reason why it's sometimes fun to like, yeah, save or like reload games just to get all the options. Oh, is this like a mini game? Or is it, I wonder if this like shapes, just how it just like, it lit up and there's like a sound.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among the meek women, the wicked. I mean, I feel like we have to keep trying our best now. We can't just say like women or the wicked. So and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us. Okay. Ooh, what do you think we should say? Sinners or that we may be redeemed?
I think it's the second one.
Okay. Now and at the hour of our death. You take an extra moment of silence. Kneeling in the grass, you observe the statue more closely. The face is especially deteriorated, framed by a system of cracks. I'm a little bit scared. I hope there's not like another minigame. There might be. You run your hand along the deteriorating contours of the statue. Oh no.
Oh boy.
Oh no. It snaps off as if by design. Behind the statue's face hides an odd assemblage of electronics carelessly soldered together. Oh, is this a little bit eerie? At the center of the electronic configuration is what appears to be a card reader. Oh, I don't think we have a card.
That's it?
Is there anything else we can do?
Oh, maybe we need a card.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I think we'll come back here. We'll remember that there's a card reader in the statue.
Yeah, once we have a card.
Oh, there's Overworld. I have to click this. Oh, okay, so we're here.
Oh, wow.
We're here. Shield Oil Refinery. Okay. Back. The statue we did inside. Let's go to our backyard. Oh, hello. Oh, this is Million, the one who is taking care of our
This is Million, yeah.
I'll click on this motorcycle
He's
first.
cool.
Silver says, if it had been a camera, the creepiness factor would have jumped up significantly. I think so, yeah, a little bit. An old disused motorcycle with extensive rust and wear. Okay. Million. Million sits in her characteristic slouch, lost in thought. Her carapace, has taken on the rusted and weather-worn quality of the rest of the machinery in the yard. You recall the night that your mom showed up with her. You and Blake stayed up past dawn, poring over pirated API docs. Her ragdoll mass was slumped on the floor as you wrote the routing procedure. I am not a programmer, so this means nothing to me, but I can guess what it means.
Yeah, API is beyond me.
Okay, I know that means something. Or I feel like I've heard this term before, I don't know it. I bet we have people in chat who might know though.
I think my friend who's a programmer is actually watching, so if he is, Dane, tell us what it is in the chat.
Yeah, tell us what it is, or text your friend. You wonder if such memories hide behind her constellation of eyes. Carapace, I love that word. Very cool. The robot regards you casually. Okay, so this is not your friend, but Ostrich says API is an application programming interface. Okay.
So like how to make the robot do what you want it to do.
And we pirated them. Okay. Okay, got it. Speak. Oh.
Ooh.
Okay, you're awake. Ooh, should we say couldn't sleep or best sleep in years?
Best sleep in years, I think, is consistent with what we said at the beginning about the refinery.
There we go. The sound of the refinery did always help you sleep, didn't it? Okay, so an API is generally the interface details of making two services talk. Okay.
Okay.
We think we know what that means.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
In any case, I'm certain I was no help. She gestures toward the motorcycle at the edge of the carport. Million says, I was turning over the engine on that bike to test the coils. It was quite noisy, but they're in good shape now. All I need is a fuse. What is this? a different color, and we can use it to get around while I finish repairing the truck. I heard the phone ringing inside, but I had my hands full. Okay, we can say, where can we get a fuse? Were you expecting a call? Or why would so many people be calling? I wonder.
I do want to ride that motorcycle.
Yeah. Maybe it's one of the things where we can ask all the questions. I'll just go for the first one. The gas station just up the road has them, but you might have to persuade Troy to let you in. Okay, so for instance, you can use the Twitter API. Okay, that's okay. Twitter API to develop applications that interact with it. Okay, were you expecting a call? Many people have been calling since Catherine died. Your brother is usually the one to answer the phone, but I don't know where he went off to. He's useless, or I wonder where he could be.
It seems consistent with our character to call him useless.
Also, I wonder where he could be. Likely at the bar or bookstore, if I had to guess. Why would so many people be calling? Your mother left behind a lot of loose ends. From what little I know, I gather she was conducting research for a client in Fat City. I sense that many people would like to acquire that data. Ooh, is this like a murder mystery? So your mother is doing something, some sort of research, and now people are looking for her to try and find it. I'm unaware of where she has hidden it. Perhaps Blake knows its whereabouts. Ooh, do you think it's in a statue?
Yes, actually, I bet you're right.
Who exactly want to see the data? Your mother spent her entire life researching this town. She knew histories that others have forgotten. There is a lot of value in this place. Who is this client? I haven't a clue. These aren't things she discussed with me. As the cancer spread, she became more guarded with her research. Ooh, okay. You finally worked yourself to death. I took her knowledge for granted, or she always kept strange company.
I took her knowledge for granted, maybe.
Her mother had a lot to teach, but she wasn't always the easiest person to get along with. Anyway. Okay, that's all. Alright, so we have to get a fuse. I'll do the rest of the eyeballs. The towers of the refinery wink in a subtle... Your mom kept all her gear in a plastic container strapped behind the cab of the truck. Boots, waders, flashlights, tackle, first aid kit, etc. This truck was your grandfather's. You remember riding in his lap while he let you steer. The dead wasps that collected behind the seat. Ooh, the smell of grease, whiskey, and nicotine. You and Blake would drive the neck of New Orleans on the weekends. No AC, windows down. The rattling chassis was deafening, going 75 on Interstate 10. Millian has been slowly repairing the vehicle since your mom's death. I think we're almost done. Steel pry bar lies in the ground. Else to click. Oh, no, here's one. Crab net. A disintegrating crab net. Blue taught your mom how to make these, and your mom taught you. In the summers, you'd bike to the suction before sunrise, tie chicken necks to a net, submerge it, and nurse your coffee while waiting for a bite. I love how specific these details are. It's really like a sign of someone who's lived or know this area very well, or has really done their research with this game. Very cool.
Yeah, and it's like a very sort of, I don't know, classic literary technique for the idea of realism. You know, is like getting these very specific details right.
Mm-hmm. As far as
which is funny in such a surreal game. Yeah, well, exactly right. Yeah.
Sarah says this game looks really neat. Definitely going to put it on my wish list. I know, right? And this is only the first little part. There's 3 acts, and this is the first game in a trilogy, so there's definitely more to it than just this first game. So yeah, I
love.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love the little features that are animated versus that are totally static. Like Millian turns her head periodically and has that like glowing thing, but everything else is stable.
Yeah, I like when there's like little leitmotifs or like the music that plays when you click certain things, like with the refinery. That there's kind of that eerie music that like swelled up all of a sudden. A lot of really fun details. Your mom's painkillers are spilled across the counter. You've discovered so many cockroaches in his microwave over the years that's discouraged you from using it. I would too. For several months, a dead baby roach was stuck between the clock's display and the protective screen, blocking the hour. Blake finally shook the microwave aggressively enough that the roach fell into the guts of the machine. Oh no. Laundry room. You're always frightened by the laundry room. That's it. We're just fighting back. Not sure if there's anything else here. Go into the backyard again. Oh, attic. Okay.
Ooh.
Boxes. There used to be much more clutter up here. Imagine your mom gave it away as the end approached. I'm doing that kind of
That's it.
strategy where I go like up and down
Yeah.
across the screen
Yeah.
to see.
Oh, there is something. Or that's just the
Yeah, that's the
box.
boxes we just. Okay, that might be it. Okay, go back to the kitchen. Okay, we've done pretty much everything, I think. So I think
Yeah.
we'll be on our way. Be at like the front yard where we can exit. Yeah, straight. Sisters. Little sister. The turtle! He crawled out the trash can! Oh, I love the animation how it switches between his sisters. Don't touch him, see, he's dirty. No, he's not. Turtles always clean. They live in water. Trash water is not clean. Let's go. Just let me stare a little longer. He's pretty. Fine. How do private investigators? We snoop for you. Oh, are these more of like the real recordings? Like the field recordings? Is this like a real
The
dog?
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it sound...
Sounds real.
It's a little bit distorted though, I feel like. Maybe it's the echo.
Yeah.
The snowball stand is closed for the winter. Okay, so it's winter now. Oh, door. The lights are on at Padu Private Investigators. Okay. We can go to the tavern, home, or dimes discount. Let's go discount store. The music changed again.
Yeah.
Okay, freight loader. The freight loader is being repaired in the Better Woods over the levee. Film set. A film crew is set up along River Road. Perfect.
Here we go.
Oh no. Several floodlights illuminate a gruesome murder scene. Two men stand pensively above a corpse. Well, we gotta approach the set.
We're definitely approaching.
As you near the set, a small, energetic man jumps from his chair. Director. Attention! Oh no. Can't you see we're trying to shoot here? Should we say sorry or just be like, what are you filming?
What are you filming? Definitely.
It's a detective drama called None of Your Business. Any other questions? I'll say, we'll just play it cool. Sounds cool. So is this like a murder scene? Keep it up and it's going to be... Hey, you know what? Wait a second. You from around here? Yeah.
Yeah.
We could use some cultural expertise, you might say. We're filming a Bayou cop drama and all these knuckleheads are from LA. Oh, this gets to the realism you were talking about.
Yeah.
An actor on set turns towards the director. I told you, Kevin, I'm from Texas. Oh, that's right, Noah. I forgot. Your Harvard-educated daddy bought a boutique ranch outside Austin. Ooh, harsh. Well, that don't make you a cowboy. Hush up before you scare off the yokel. The director returns his attention to you with a mild look of disgust. Help us out, will you? This script needs some work. What do you say? Gotta do it. Fine.
Sure.
Great. Hey, Noah, get over here so you can learn something from this stupid redneck. That's been not very nice. The actor smolders, whispers under his breath. I'm a redneck. Oh. Oh. Fine, Noah, you're a redneck. Real salt of the earth kind of guy. But as luck would have it, we came across an even dumpier hayseed than you, okay? So just take a knee. Alright, anyway, we need some good slang. What do you call a villain, a bad apple, a lowlife? Ooh, I like this. This gets into like linguistics. Bad daddy. Crawfish devil. You get to have a little bit of fun here.
Yeah. I sort of assume that crawfish devil is like...
We're making it up.
Yeah, like it's like we're encouraging the director's caricature of who we are.
Yeah. Do you think we should pick that one?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, a villain is we call him down south, a crawfish devil. You nod solemnly. Wow. Now that is some spicy there. Did you get that? No, write that down. Crawfish devil. That's good. That's sultry. Who says that? No one says that. No one at Juilliard says it, Noah, but we're down here in the muck. I've been hearing all kinds of people say it down here. It just slipped my mind. Ah, okay. Like how you... Great, that's settled. One more thing. What's a more regional way of saying to murder, to kill? I can say slay, send him with the roosters, or slather him with the rooster-flavored peanut butter?
Should we be consistent?
Should we take it all the way if we're too silly? Will he believe us? Slather him with the oyster-flavored peanut butter.
Let's try it.
Oyster-flavored peanut butter? You maintain severe eye contact. Jesus, that's vile. That's repulsive, just like this place. Oh no. I absolutely love it. Noah. Yes. Slather him with the oyster-flavored peanut butter. Got it? Yeah. Well, I'm satisfied. The crawfish devil slathered up the oyster-flavored peanut butter. That's a shiver down my spine. I'm getting a little bit hungry, actually. Like, you know, I would eat this. I would try it. I'd give it a try. I seriously have to repeat this. This is how real people speak, Noah. It's how people talk outside Silver Lake. You understand? Real people are out here saying weird and gross things all the time. John says I always send him home with the roosters. Yeah, but do you do it with the oyster-flavored peanut butter? So memorize that line, because that line is going to win me a Golden Globe. Oh, the director half remembers your presence. I'm pretty good at sourcing talent, aren't I? Always had a knack for it. I guess I owe you one. If ever you need anything, talk to somebody else on set. Just don't bother me. I'm busy. Now get lost. Okay.
Wild.
Yeah. Slather him with that peanut butter. Oh, here's the gas.
It seems like the game in general is so interested in like what other people's perceptions of the region are.
Yeah.
Like the whole crisis LARPing thing too, which is about this sort of extractive torture porn industry thing, you know, like, or ruin porn is what it's called, you know.
I wish, yeah, I would be curious to see the documentary or that multimedia project that spawned this game. I think that would be really cool. So many evenings spent watching traffic pass by this gas station. Little has changed. The neighboring business still sits abandoned. The surrounding streets are quiet and empty. Okay, let's see if we can... Ooh, Troy. Uh-oh.
Troy.
Oh! Well, look who's back. What happened? Carnival forget you beside the road? And it even has that kind of like fake, like, talking sound. You even brought your little doll. Oh.
Okay.
That's cute. What do you think we should say? First or second one?
Second one?
Okay. Back because my mom
Move the
died.
plot along.
Not that stupid, are you, Catherine? She's too valuable. They'd never let her die. If anything, she's probably vacationing on a hard drive somewhere. Oh, interesting. She's vacationing on a hard drive? Oh. Okay, you're trolling me about my dead mom, or get lost. These are two very, like, aggressive options.
Yeah. Kay's pretty aggressive, it seems.
Get lost. Oh, that's scary. You don't get it, do you? Lucky you got someone like me to break things down for you. Your mom was excavated all along the rim of the lake. She used to pay me to help from time to time, matter of fact. She needed someone smart. Somebody vigilant. Somebody like me. Especially with S.H.I.E.L.D. snooping around. I seen some wild shit out there in them camps with Catherine.
I would like to know more. What kind?
Yeah. I won't bother telling you about it. Might hurt your brain. And anyhow, this ain't story time. I'm not letting you in this gas station. The company that runs this dump did me dirty. They swapped me with an ATM machine. They're speaking truth. Okay. Ain't letting nobody through until I get an apology, very least. I'll just say you clearly deserved it. Go huff some glue. If you really want to get through, go get me some of them pills your brother is selling. That might persuade me.
Okay, so this is getting complicated. So in order to get the fuse to make the motorcycle work, we need to get into the gas station.
Right.
And we need pills now to get to the gas station.
Or we can just fight him. That's the option.
I think we'll lose. Should
you?
we try though? Well, maybe if it's a mini game, I'm sure your skills will get us through. But
all right, you're joking, right? Trying to get wrecked. All right, then let's go. Oh, okay, or monkey? Well, monkey? Can monkey fight for us?
We can take it a shot. Yeah.
What am I doing?
Oh, it's like the eye thing.
Oh, this is scary. Oh, monkey's wrestling. I don't know if I like this. Oh, I can do this. Okay. I don't condone violence, by the way.
Oh, you did good that time.
Yeah, we are doing good. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glad that wasn't like super violent. It was only like a little bit violent. All right, we got it. Gas station, let's go. Oh, here's that ATM machine. Do they have a fuse? Fuses.
Fuses, nice.
Fuses hang on the shelf. Great, let's take one. Grab a fuse. I detect that you have merchandise in your possession. You must remove any unpurchased items from your backpack and scan them in order to exit the store. Use an item in your inventory, drag it. Intended target. Where's our inventory? Oh, here it is.
Oh, it's just appeared. We only have the fuse.
You scan the fuse. Thank you for your purchase.
Okay.
Do you want to talk to it?
Yeah.
Good evening, how may I help you? I can say, you own this place, or you know Troy, that guy outside?
That we just beat up?
Yeah, I'll say you own this place. I am Discountware, a distributed cloud-based operating system for American Discount Southeast Incorporated, semantic version number 16.3.3. The owner of this franchise is Perilou and Son. Discountware is licensed via the standard American Discount Southeast Incorporated licensing agreement. How do you like this job? I proudly perform the routine maintenance operations and procedures of 227 locations across the Southeast region. They are a model company awarded for excellence in business and community service. Thank you for acquiring. Is this the future? Do you think they're already like I've seen like advertisements or not like signs. I think even on Vegas they have a robot that now makes boba for you. And I recently saw in Chinatown, really? Yeah, in Chicago. They're opening a restaurant where I think like a robot will make ramen for you.
Wow.
It's happening. This is our future.
Yeah. I love the face.
Yeah.
It's like floating on the screen.
Do you know Troy? Okay, they're forwarding it. Perilou and Son has declined to respond. Okay. I'll just say I'm good for now. Candy? Protein bars, bubblegum, breath mints, taffy, etc. I think we'll take our break after we sort of finish up this section. I have a feeling once we get back to our house, we can plan.
Okay, cool.
I know, I would love to play a lot more. Like, this is a very fun...
I know, I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
Dusty bags of dog food line the shelf.
Just noticed Troy lying on the ground outside.
Film set, we were there.
I like this guy in the chat who says we really ruined that show by giving him that dialogue.
Oh yeah, you want a redneck? I'll give you a redneck. I ruined the show. Yep. Tavern. What's the tavern?
Oh.
Floodgate Tavern. Many shield workers gather here after their shifts. It's closed. It should be open later in the evening. Okay. Can't go there yet. There is one more patient.
Ooh.
Yeah, horse. A lone horse drifting the stagnant water pooled along the riverbank. Drifter. A man sits on a pile of flotsam. his head buried in his canvas jacket against the sharp air. Stupid horse. The man's gaze stays fixed on the opposite bank of the river, never turning to you nor the horse. You can say yeah or I can't stand that horse. I don't even know the horse. I'll say yeah. Oh, that's cool. So is this true? A man has a restaurant that's robot operated by disabled people who otherwise wouldn't be able to work? That'd be a really nice way to use that technology. Spits on the dirt at his feet. You know what all they dump in that water? Hell of a cocktail. Spits again, wiping a string of mucus onto his slave. What you out here for anyway? Ain't you heard they got a criminal on the loose? You know what this reminds me of? Did you ever go to like Lake Michigan and then you kind of like when you peer across the way you can see all like the refineries across the lake? This is exactly what this reminds me of, kind of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Across Lake Michigan in Chicago. Bringing a law around.
Yeah, it's scary.
Making things harder for the rest of us. Gary, Indiana. Best be sharp, young one. Yeah, but how do we get the horse to be our friend? The memorial languishes in a river mud. 2x4 cross, plywood plaque, cairns of pulverized concrete. Sprayed haphazardly onto the plywood is a remembrance. Here passed the brave freedom fighters of January XW11. Oh, you know what? What was that year? It started with a Y.
Yeah, it was like VY or YVW9 or something.
YW9D. This is XW11. I wonder if X and Y, is that how they... I bet that's how they do it. His cries of liberty echo through generations. Maybe that's why we couldn't find anything on that hurricane, because it's like an in-game date system. And much smaller lettering, a different hand scratch fake across the bottom. You could believe that. Okay. The discount store. There's inside, which is where I think we went, right? Yeah, we already went inside.
Yeah.
Back to Apple Street. Home.
From there we can go. Yeah.
We'll go home. Go to our backyard. And let Million know we got the fuse. Got the fuse? Good. We'll be able to use the bike to get around town until I'm done with the truck. Concerns me that Blake still hasn't returned. He's been spending a lot of time at Sarked Paperbacks lately. Perhaps we should look for him there.
Let's go.
Yeah. Ooh, very fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's, we'll go to the paperback store, and I think that's like a good ending point for our stream after we wrap up. The sky bleeds a color you knew as a color. By stream, I mean just this part of the game. We're not going to wrap up the actual stream. Airline highway passes beneath your feet. Million has joined your party. Interact with party members by clicking their portraits in a party member. If you're stuck, they might be able to help. I love this view, though.
Yeah, this is great.
Million shouts over the wind. The bike runs much better now. You can use it to get around during your visit. I'll just go on the one. Where could Blake be? He spends much of his time at starting paperbacks. Perhaps you should check there. How's Blake been? The year you left, Blake became uncontrollable. His behavior troubled Catherine deeply. He was beginning to remind her of your grandfather. After he was expelled from Destron, he began running drugs into the parish. He made himself many enemies. He put those things behind him after her illness. But now that she's gone, I'm uncertain what to expect. I should have stuck around, or this place can ruin people.
Maybe the first one.
Yeah. Should have stuck around. I won't apologize for leaving. No one's asking me to play. Okay, how have you been? I'm always the same, okay? Always the same. Is that better? I'll say is that bad or good? Whichever you prefer. I'll say sounds zen. Perhaps. Okay, what's it been like around town? Shield has been expanding since you left. Catherine took her grandfather's boat to the lake to investigate reports of construction in the swamps along the shoreline. She assumed it to be unpermitted shield activity. She was unable to find any evidence of it. However, it was clear that she found something during that investigation. What was it? I don't know. Perhaps you do. Ooh, how would you know? I'll show you. So what makes you think she found something?
Yeah.
I've known Catherine for a long time. Her behavior changed. In any event, something drew her to the lake in the months before her death. Alright. Oh, the map is flashing.
Oh, so now we can go.
Yeah. Is this? Where's the bookstore? Here it is. Checks to cash. Teens, dog.
Ooh, we get some new music too.
Yeah. Stocky pit bull with piercing green eyes watches the horizon with a neutral demeanor. Oh, can you talk to the dog? Can you pet it? As he reached down to pet the dog, she shows her teeth and growls softly.
That's a no.
Yeah. Bookstore. You wonder how anyone can read in this dim and cluttered bookshop. As your eyes adjust, you see Blake's childhood friend Erica waiting behind the counter to greet you. Okay. And Million, when did you get back to town? I've been in Norco for quite some time. Perhaps you're misremembering Erica. Weird. Guess so. Anyhow. Okay, you're looking rugged these days, old friend. Word in the street is that you cleaned Troy's clock. That guy, my god, he's such a clown. Glad he finally got a little taste of what he deserves. I guess I just doing my part or Sexy got fired? What do you think?
Let's find out why he got fired.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. He's just so hot. No. We'll just say rude. Well, I don't know. This is Erica.
He was rude.
Well, yeah, let's say precisely. Enough about that troll. I was keeping up with their travels online, but haven't seen you post in a while. Hi, Folkwise. Welcome in. I know you're about to stream soon. Thanks for being here. Yes. Okay, I'll say, I tossed my phone in a Rio Grande. Thanks for being here. I hope your stream goes well. I respect that. It seems more and more common these days. I've been avoiding my phone as well. Helps that the connection has been so erratic. Been hearing of people chopping down cell towers, tearing fiber cables out the ground, trying to rip the internet apart. She nods into the ensuing silence. Back because of your mom, huh?
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll miss the hell of that woman. Oh, yeah? I know it wasn't always easy between you two. I was around for some of the arguments. Like would say, she was a great person, but terrible mom. I just hope you and your brother can find some comfort. That'll be nice. I think. That means a lot, thank you.
Yeah.
Of course, I lost my dad a while back, also to cancer. He was a mean guy. Picked up my sister and threw her one time, ended up giving her a concussion. I couldn't wait for him to die. When he did, I danced. But as the years pass, I find myself thinking about him more. It feels good to hear stories about him. It's always complicated with this. Never easy. I worry about your brother. Your mom's illness is taking a toll on him. I watched him slip back into some bad behaviors. That was a long conversation.
It really is, yeah.
Have you seen Blake lately? Yeah, I saw him just yesterday. Oh, he's around. I thought our brother was, like, missing. We had to find him. He hasn't been around a house? He has not. He said he was heading to Floodgate Tavern when I saw him. Okay, he may have gotten wasted. I know Gus let him sleep behind the bar a couple times. Did he know you were coming back, Kay? Never mentioned it. I'll say... Thought I'd surprise him. I'm sure he'll be relieved to see you. He's been resisting help, but he needs it. If I hear from him, I'll tell him to find you. Ooh. Long conversation. Books?
Yeah.
Is this a fox or a
Crouton?
cat? Yeah, what? This is like a fox to you? Or maybe just a very special cat? Yeah.
I think it's a very special orange cat.
This here is the illustrious Crouton. That's a great name. We found him behind the dumpster out back, licking cardboard. Whatever you do, don't try to pet him. He's a devil. I've got scars all over my hands from this cat. It's a cat.
We do not get to pet a lot of cats.
Oh. Oh! Little heart! Wow! Crouton usually bites strangers. He must like you. The counter went up. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Should we keep petting
I wonder if
Crouton?
we could probably do it again.
Seems to be getting a little excited. Wow, I've never seen a cat purr this hard. Maybe you two should slow down? Never. Never. Uh-oh. What's going on with the cat? No, we're
I
like,
don't
stop
know.
touching the cat. Crouton looks like he's fixing
He's
to explode.
vibrating. Yeah.
Should we keep going?
I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Is this a cat bot? A real cat? Oh, a lot of symbols. Don't the cat. Crouton! I got a Steam achievement for that, in case anyone was wondering. Get a Steam achievement if the cat blasts off. What? What just happened to the cat? Okay, I told you to stop messing with the cat. You just launched the ceiling? What just happened? Oh, she's angry.
That's something behind.
Do you see the cat?
What does it say?
Yeah, it says WTF now.
Oh.
Well, oh, Crouton's phone
Crouton
case.
phone case.
You grab the phone case from the counter. A phone case resembling Crouton. Okay, well...
But we get to keep it. Wow.
We do. I think...
What a good way to end on.
Yeah,
you know?
let's take our break. We'll end on our on launching Crouton into the stratosphere. Yeah, Crouton is blasting off again. And then so we're gonna take like a 3 to 5 minute break, and then we'll be back with Dave where we can ask him all sorts of fun questions, get to know him a little bit better. Thanks for sticking around with us. All right, we're gonna get to our break now. See you all very soon. All right. Hi, everyone. Hope you had a good break. I'm back here with our special guest today, Dave Burnham from UNR. Um, Dave, what did you think about that game? What did you think about the first little part of Norco? I'm curious to get your impressions.
I loved it a lot. I mean, the stuff that we got to talk about, just sort of like meta the game while we were playing, I've still been thinking a lot about. I mean, just like the use of sound is really cool. The like you were saying, the sort of field recording aspect, like the crunching grass and the seagulls and the dogs and all of that. I really loved that. And yeah, I mean, just in general, this idea about using a game to index a social problem or to like get at a kind of like documentary in the traditional sense, like view of a place or a location or an environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not something that I ever really thought about. And
Yeah.
I'm really curious about like where it goes, and that little element of crouton at the end. I had sort of seen people describe it as magical realism, and like in my little fiddling around with it before we streamed, and then in the stream it seemed like so clearly sci-fi. Like this is a dystopian future, like you were saying with that. I mean, I haven't played Final Fantasy, but my understanding of that city is that it's this kind of like corporate dominated dystopia where it's like some sort of faceless, mysterious corporation actually runs the functioning of an industrial environment. And just like thinking about the way that seems like extrapolating from current conditions in New Orleans and its relationship to the extractive industries. And then just the cat, like, okay, so now we're in a completely different like narrative register, and it's really cool. I mean, it's not something that I know a lot about, but I'm really curious about how the sort of like the syntax of magical realism um, like plays a role in the sort of geographical or documentary efforts. So
Yeah.
I really want to play more.
Yeah, no, I would love to as well. Yeah, I love how the cat injects a little bit of humor into all of this. And as you said, I feel like it's very well, sometimes it's like it hits you over the head, but sometimes it's also very subtle about getting into, right, all of the issues that come with maybe like climate change or flooding or these like
Mm-hmm.
very real natural disasters, like when we were reading about, yeah, all the different floods, the one that might come, and then back in her, family home when we were reading about when we pulled out that one book from the bookshelf that was sort of depicting what it was like to live in that area. So I really appreciated that about the game.
Yeah, I loved that. I mean, loved is the wrong word, but I was fascinated by Erica being like, yeah, my dad passed from cancer as well, and like the sort of the problem of environmental pollution
Yeah.
as like increased rates of that, and sort of how that interacts with poverty and racism.
Hmm.
Like it's a lot to tackle in something like this, which I guess is why there's so much text.
Hmm. But it sounds like, yeah, at least one person from our stream was inspired to play it. So hopefully, yeah, if people ever wonder how video games can make a difference, I feel like this is like a very thoughtful and really like well done game. Like these people just obviously really like this area and really care for
Mm-hmm.
the people and the environment. And in chat, yeah, Silver says Crouton getting launched is a hilarious twist to throw us for a loop, just like how Crouton got thrown into the stratosphere from affection. Yeah, that was really great. So, Dave, I think I'm going to start off by asking, I guess I already asked you a question, but we love our origin stories here on stream. So I guess I wanted to ask
Yeah.
you, so right now you're currently a postdoc at UNR, and maybe you can tell us what that's like. But before that, you're at U Chicago and you studied cinema and media studies. But I guess what drew you to that field in the first place? What sort of set you on this path that you are on now?
Um, it's not a super long story, but it's sort of a long story.
Okay.
But like before college, so in high school and in middle school, I was like not particularly into movies at all, and I didn't really. I mean, I like watch movies with my friends and stuff like that, but I wasn't obsessed about it. I didn't pursue it seriously. I was a huge reader, but like, yeah, I didn't really do many games, and didn't really watch a lot of movies. And then when I was in college, I did my undergrad at Oberlin College in Ohio, and I had a professor, this guy named Brett Kashmir, who now runs an experimental film distribution nonprofit called Canyon Cinema in the Bay Area. But he taught at Oberlin the 3 years of my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And I took every class that he offered, and they were all focused on making films. And I found my way into like caring about movies through making experimental short films, which is something I have not done since I graduated college in 2011. But like my route into caring about movies was very much about experimental cinema. So like a lot of people who are interested in experimental cinema, kind of come at it the other way. Like they love movies, they get more and more into it, they get into the further out stuff, and they sort of culminate in experimental cinema. But for me, it was the opposite route. So the first things that I really cared about were like the kinds of films that are, better thought of in a weird way as art objects. And so that led me to grad school, where I wanted to study these things in an academic context. And then in grad school for cinema studies, you have to go through coursework in which you do all sorts of different approaches to cinema. And that was where I think I really fell in love with movies in the broadest possible sense. And I definitely have watched many more movies since that time than I ever had before. And in particular now, like at UNR, it's in teaching that I like really get to do a lot of this stuff, and which is what I really, really like.
Can you tell us what distinguishes experimental film from, I guess, regular film? Like what makes, of course, experimental is tacked on at the end, but at the front, but what makes it experimental film or a genre? We don't.
It's a really hard question. And in a weird way, my dissertation is kind of about this, and
Okay.
my book is sort of about this, about like what the stakes of this question are.
Hmm.
I think that like from if you're approaching the definition from like an internal, like what is a text that is experimental look like, the definition is not really very tenable.
Okay.
Because there's too many different kinds of things that it's trying to swallow or incorporate. But if you think about it as like from an almost industrial point of view, it's usually like it's almost always things that are made by one person or made by a very, very small team of people, intimate handcrafted objects growing out of an amateur filmmaking practice. And then there's also sort of societal definition, which is that it's kind of a community of people who care about these things, a select number of festivals that program them and show them and screen them, a community of critics who write and care about these things, of which there are very, very few. And then a sort of academic definition. I think that like the definition that I often use sort of like casually, is like films that are concerned with themselves as art objects, and as art objects that are closer to or pursuing the same kinds of goals as sculptures or paintings or pieces of music, rather than Hollywood films, but using cinematic medium.
Would you consider video games to be experimental film?
Well, I have to confront before I played Norco, I might have said no, but I do think that like there's a lot to deal with Norco. I mean, in particular, this idea that, and so my relationship with games, I have to say, is like the games that I play are very big budget AAA mainstream games mostly. So Norco is like something that's like, made by a really small team. I think it's like 5 or 6 people. And like in particular, like the pixel art, almost all being done by Yutz. And its ambitions, I think that it really thinks of itself as an art object. It's not just a sort of social cause game. I think like the humor and the surrealism and the magic realism and the sci-fi speculative stuff, that's all sort of trying to digest what seemed to me to be like artistic ambitions, literary ambitions almost. Mm-hmm. But there's no photography really, which makes it challenging for me.
Okay, that's fair.
The field recording audio is helpful, but so yeah, adjacent to experimental filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. In chat, what's your favorite type of film? And yeah, anyone is welcome in chat to answer this if you would like. But yeah, Dave, do you have a favorite type of film or even like favorite films?
I'm famously bad at the favorite films question. I can never really decide what the difference is between a film that I like thinking about or writing about or working on, and a film that I actually enjoy watching. Like one of the films that I like write about a lot and think about a lot is this film called Michael Snow's Wavelength. I mean, Michael Snow's the artist. The film is called Wavelength. And it's a 45-minute shot that is a zoom across a loft in New York. And the sort of like film criticism, like Letterboxd community often calls it the worst, most boring film of all time. But I think it's amazing. You know, I love it. I've seen it like 7 times.
Is there
And
like
I, you know,
music or
I
sound, or is it just like this like silent?
there's
Okay.
a sound which is a sine wave that gets higher and higher in pitch over the course of
Okay.
the 45 minutes.
Okay.
um, and you know, so like in some ways, I think that's my favorite film, like ever. You know, I think it's the most interesting thing to think about. It's like a fascinating object. The discourse around it is really interesting. It like sort of invokes a lot of philosophical things, or that kind of thing. But I wouldn't subject it to anyone who wasn't ready for it, or unless they were my student. From like a watching perspective, I'm like omnivorous. You know, I will watch anything. I love Hong Kong and Taiwanese cinema of the 80s and 90s. I love classic Hollywood rom-coms. I love crappy action movies from the 90s. That kind of thing. I mean, I'm pretty voracious.
I would agree that I think it's hard when it comes to favorites because I think there are films that I like rewatching. But I don't know if maybe they are favorites. Maybe that is the definition. But yeah, when you mention like Hong Kong and Taiwanese cinema, I was thinking about Japanese cinema, which I kind of got into when I was an undergraduate at U Chicago because I did like a maybe it was a week or a month. I forget what it was at the theater there, and it was
At Doc,
yeah, and I think Tom Popo is maybe the first one I watched, so I got really into his films. I think Supermarket Woman is my favorite of the ones he did, but Tom Popo is kind of the most famous and for good reason. But that's
I haven't seen Supermarket Woman. I'll
it's
have to check
good,
it
yeah.
out.
And then he also does he does more movies before he was suspiciously killed by the Yakuza. But he did one on the Yakuza. I think that's why they murdered him and covered it up, supposedly.
Wow.
Um, but there's one about like a hotel business as well, all kind of featuring the same like woman and storyline. But I
Mm-hmm.
love those movies. So yeah, if you watch Supermarket Women, let me know what you think.
I will, yeah. I mean, I think that like a series at Doc is so many people's origin story for why they like or care about a certain field. It's such a cool resource.
Yeah, yeah, I watched a lot of movies there, and there's also a really good resource. A lot of like I've forgotten a lot of names from my time there, but there is a maybe it was like the Asian Studies Center. It was some like it was either like a library or a center, and if you're a student, you could check out all their movies for free. I just remember it was like this little tiny room, and that's where I think I checked out like Supermarket Woman and the movie about the hotel and some other things. It was just like a very like niche, very nice resource for students.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, again, if anyone has any other questions, please, feel free to ask Dave during our time together. But I guess I'd like to ask, what are you teaching now at UNR? So you are a postdoc. So I guess first of all, what does that entail? But also, you said you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching. So what are you teaching, or what are you doing during your time in Reno?
So I teach film studies classes in the English department,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sort of what I was hired to do,
Mm-hmm.
to bring a sort of different perspective on film studies into the department. So on the one hand, that means I teach the what is sort of the 101 class, film analysis and interpretation, which is a lot of fun. The intro is like one of my favorite things to teach. I find it really challenging and really like interesting. I like am constantly confronting the fact that the gulf between me and freshmen and like their conception of what movies is and like why they care about them like gets different every year, and so it's been really interesting. And so I will do a lot of that in the next. That's a 2-year
Okay.
appointment. So this is the very beginning of it. I've been in Reno for 4 months. Um, and but I also do a little bit of teaching in my area of specialty. So the other class that I'm teaching right now is a class that I've been sort of working on, which is called Experiments in 21st Century Documentary. So it's sort of like a global look at people who are using hybrid methods to approach documentary filmmaking. So a lot of people who are doing like some fictional elements or recreations or pretty avant-garde observational techniques, which is sort of the reason that I think Norco is such a fascinating game. I was just thinking about like if I could figure out a way to incorporate games into the course, as a sort of similar kind of experimental approach to, how can we, because like what the course is sort of about is like how can we use artistic tools to communicate like real life information,
Hmm.
and like what kinds of advantages and disadvantages does that approach have.
Yeah.
um, so I think I might have to put Norco in the
Okay.
next version of the course.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad we inspired you. I think it's very cool that this is in an English department instead of in its own, like, I don't know, like, media studies department or cinema studies
Mm-hmm,
department, for
mm-hmm.
instance. So I guess, is it a lot about like writing and storytelling? Like what connects it back to English?
It's an interesting question. I mean, sometimes I think that's just kind of like an administrative
Yeah.
quirk of various universities.
Yeah.
Like sometimes film ends up there versus somewhere else. I mean, I think that at UNR, there is a really robust journalism school.
Hmm.
And a lot of the students who are going in there are thinking about filmmaking from a very practical side of things, learning how to use a camera, how to use sound recording techniques and stuff like that. And I think that we offer them the kind of like intellectual critical analysis that not as like lacking in the journalism school by any means, but like that is more closely tied to methods of analyzing English lit. So I think of it as more of like a spiritual home for that kind of thing. The question of why it's not its own department is, I think, something you'd have to ask the chair.
Yeah.
It's sort of happened before my time, and
Right.
I don't know the story. I mean, at Chicago we had our own department, but I know a lot of colleagues who work in English departments
Mhm.
around the country. I mean, historically, that's kind of like where film studies has, as an academic discipline, come out of, as opposed to art history or something.
Sure. No, that's fair. I guess, yeah. When I went to study ethnomusicology, it happened to be at Indiana University, where they have their own separate
Mm-hmm.
department of folklore and ethnomusicology. But a lot of times in other, colleges and schools across the country, it's either in the music school or department or in
Mm-hmm.
anthropology. It's very rare that you find it as its own department. So
And does that distinction like mean something about their approach to what it is that they're doing?
yeah, it definitely does. So as far as I guess I'm sort of like reaching back into like, the history of when I was taking all these classes about the history of ethnomusicology. In the 1950s, Alan Merriam and Mantle Hood were like the two like ethnomusicologists, but they disagreed about sort of the definition and how you should go about studying music and culture. And so Mantle Hood was very much of the opinion that if you want to learn about music from another culture, you have to learn how to play that music. So this idea of like
Wow.
bi-musicality, kind of like being bilingual, bi-musicality came into being. But Alan Merriam was more of like an ethnographer, more of like an anthropologist kind of figure. So, and I think he even went on to write a book called The Anthropology of Music, I want to say. I could be wrong, but I think he did. But anyway, Mental Hood went on to UCLA, where they have a very strong ethnomusicology program, and they have a very strong music focus. And they have a gamelan there, Javanese gamelan, and other ensembles, whereas Alan Merriam went on to be a part of the Department of Folklore and Ethnomusicology at Indiana University, which famously we do not have an ethnomusicology music ensemble or a gamelan, which usually people when they think of ethnomusicology they think of gamelan, which they have one at U Chicago, which is how I kind of got into this world in the first place.
Wow.
So yeah, some of these like
That's
arbitrary like histories really define, how you study and think about these things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like the ethnographic thing is so interesting. Like in my documentary course, we watch a lot of stuff that comes out of what's Harvard's sensory ethnography lab. So
Hmm.
I mean, the most famous one is Leviathan, which is about a fishing boat, but they have a lot of other films. And it's a story, a similar kind of story about like basically the difference between anthropologists and artists in their conception of like what ethnography can be or consists of. So yeah, that's fascinating that that happened with music too.
Yeah, and I feel like we've already like, you know, we've already kind of gotten into this, but I'm curious about your thoughts on video games or like versus or maybe in like compared to like cinema and film, or even as objects sort of worthy of study in that realm. Because I remember taking courses on music by people who didn't think video game music was like an actual thing or it's not worth
Sure.
studying. And now I feel like at Chicago they even have a game lab which was created, pretty recently. So it's very cool that they're taking this field, I guess you could say, seriously. But I'm just curious about your thoughts about, yeah, cinema and video games.
Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. I mean, like in a similar kind of like, story of how universities work. It's like, it's a sort of interesting quirk that game studies in some dimension is emerging from multiple places simultaneously. And like one of the fields that it's emerging from is cinema and media studies. And it's not a sort of like research area of mine, but it's something that I'm really sort of personally compelled by, which is like, and this is something that I tell my students a lot, it's like, if you want to understand the way that games work, like a huge part of that is understanding a visual language that was developed in cinema. So thinking about, like where is the camera in a game, and like what distance or perspective does it have? Like what kind of, how does it move? How does it change? Like how does it incorporate cutscenes and stuff like this? And so, some of my like fellow grad students were invested in doing game studies from a cinema kind of perspective, like thinking about them, not just in sort of like practical terms, in terms of like, how does the game incorporate the idea of a camera, but also in terms of like approaches to cinema studies, like more broadly, like, interpreting movies. Can these tools be repurposed for thinking about games? Mm-hmm. And like the one that I'm the most interested in personally, and that's like very closely related to my own work, is like, and this is what I was thinking about sort of preparing for this chat, is like, what does or doesn't make a game a work of art, and like what kind of like conversation around it would need to happen in order for that to work. And it's a question that in cinema, I think is developed along lines that I think would be useful to people who are thinking about it for games, which was about the idea that, originally and in sort of classic Hollywood, movies were looked down upon for being a popular art, a mass art, available to everyone, and also like an industrial product, like something that required huge amounts of people to make and huge amounts of money to leverage. And like one of the answer that I like research is like, a rejection of that system in favor of handcrafted objects that are personally expressive or that are sort of ambitious in different kinds of ways about like what an art object consists of. And so like, I'm really invested in that conversation and really curious about how it works, and reading about something like Norco, where it's like, it's not Breath of the Wild in a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
And one of the ways that it isn't is like a kind of rejection of a certain kind of like funness, I guess, for lack of a better word, and like how that sort of the adoption of like a kind of seriousness is something that I think is a process that cinema has gone through that I think is really helpful for thinking about games.
I think earlier on we were talking about, or maybe you mentioned like playing like, like popular like AAA games, and I feel like that's something we haven't done a lot of on this particular stream, although we might in the future. And I think that's just because we've played so many indie games that get to focus on really, really cool, maybe cool isn't the right word, but really like just special, maybe like topics or themes that you might not get in a AAA game, because it's not cool to want to think about family and diaspora and food. But Venba, the game, does just that, and I think it's won a lot of awards. Venba, because yeah, it's an indie game that it's kind of a labor of love, just like Norco, and so it's been very fun playing those types of games here on stream. Not just not to knock AAA games, because they're great for a reason, but sometimes, yeah, as you said, like indie games or these like smaller productions are, yeah, you get to kind of do a little bit more of what you want to do and kind of reject that kind of mainstream, conformist kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that like one of the stories in cinema is like, um, rejecting that AAA model also means that you are placed within certain kinds of artistic limitations. So like, you can't do certain things without millions of dollars, right?
Of course, yeah.
And I think that in cinema, there's been this like, historically like a huge embrace of that idea that in fact, actually, embracing those limitations and saying that this is in some way more essential or more pure or gets better to the heart of the medium, like me and my camera and the thing that I can afford to do as an individual, is a better expression of like what cinema is, than these millions of dollar Hollywood productions, which again are great, are beautiful. We love going to see them, but it's a sort of different kind of product. And it's interesting to me with indie games that it seems kind of like there's a similarity there, that like, you know, in some ways the pixel art, you know, is because they can't render these enormously detailed 3D interactive worlds without a sort of like infrastructure that I'm sure they can't afford.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, so a lot of things to think about. Hopefully people in our chat or who watch the recording after, all the things that you brought up about, like where the camera is or about what goes into the art of a game or different considerations the game developers make, try and look out for those like the next time you play, like the next game, whatever game that you're going to play next.
Mm-hmm.
I know I am going to. Um, Dave, I wanted to ask you, this is sort of going back to the questions I like to ask all of our first-time guests on the stream.
Yeah.
I am curious, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but I like to hear what people have to say. But I'm wondering, what do the humanities mean to you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I think about it all the time. I think about it like there's been this like really active discourse on Twitter, like recently, like this week,
Really?
about like a humanities undergraduate
Huh.
education. Like, what's the point? What's it for? Like, what do we do with it? Like, you know, college is in sort of such a crisis as a concept right now that I feel like this thing comes up periodically, and so I've just been thinking about it, and I think, you know, for me, like from my personal experience, the humanities and studying the humanities and pursuing it, even like, you know, not as a college person, as a teenager, as a preteen, and just like reading obsessively. You know, the thing that it gave to me was an understanding of like how limited my own worldview is, and like how many different ways there are of interacting with the world, and how many different subjective experiences are available, and how much there is out there to like learn and interact with. And the thing that, you know, I find so promising about the humanities is it both makes you aware of your limitations, like how little you actually know and how little you actually understand, but it also gives you some of the tools to begin filling in those gaps. And that's what I feel like I've done more of in teaching and as an adult, is think about the humanities as a way to like help you, you know, help you understand how little you know and offer you a route into knowing more. And about whatever it is that you want to know. I mean, like um, I think about movies that way. You know, a lot of people talk about literature as being the empathy machine, which I'm always kind of suspicious of. I'm not really quite sure. I really think it works that way. But I do think that there is an idea that, um, you know, it can broaden your horizon. That is maybe cliche, but very real.
I guess the first time I watched the Blade Runner film, it was during my mandatory humanities course at U Chicago. Hatham, our professor, made us watch Blade Runner. I just remember being just totally taken by the films. I'm very grateful for that reason. Taking that class in
Yeah,
college, right?
yeah,
Making it to
yeah,
expand my
totally.
horizons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like when I talk to people about their college experience, if they ever took a film course, they remember what they watched, you know. And I think in part it's because, you know, it's like, and I see this with my students all the time, like not only did I not know this movie existed, I didn't know this kind of movie existed. You know, I wasn't aware that this was an option. You know, like when I screened an experimental film in a lot of these classes, people sort of like they didn't even have a category for it before they saw it. So that I think is really valuable. Even if they hate it, you know, even if they walk out screaming, you know, at least now they know something existed that they didn't know before. You know, that I think that counts for something.
Yeah. I guess sort of a funny segue. Speaking of screaming, in a chat, K-Papa says that their favorite type of film is horror, and specifically psychological horror, like Midsummer. I have not seen Midsummer. Have you seen it, Dave?
I haven't actually. I'm a scaredy cat. Um,
That's right.
so I like horror a lot, but I have to approach it with a lot of sort of discipline and preconditions in order to deal with the nightmares that come afterwards.
That's
I
fair.
saw The Ring at a very formative age, and I never really got over it. So
I've never
I
seen
have
The
to be
Ring.
cautious.
I've only seen scenes from The Ring. That's enough for me to like not want to watch The Ring. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think it rocks. Like, I really like the director of the
Okay.
American version, and the original is incredible.
Okay.
But I've seen them a couple of times, and I don't need to ever see them again
Okay. That's
for
fair.
sure.
I'm kind of curious. So you said, you kind of teach an intro course at UNR about films.
Mhm.
Like, what kind do you have a lot of like freedom over the syllabus and what you can assign for them to watch, or is there like a so you do it first? Like, what kind of films would you assign in like an intro to film or cinema studies class? I'm curious. Like, what do you make, not make, but what do you have your students watch?
We do all sorts of stuff. I mean,
Okay.
the way that intro to film works for me is like we spend the first half of the course learning like film technique.
Okay.
So cinematography, editing, mise en scène, these kinds of things. And the second half of the course is like more thematic. So it's about sort of concepts in film, narrative, documentary, animation, the digital, that kind of thing. So, this week is Digital Week and we're watching Ang Lee's Gemini Man. I don't know if anyone has seen Gemini
I've
Man.
heard of it, but I don't think I've
Um,
watched it.
yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Like, it's very, very weird.
Okay.
Ang Lee, like, he uses a lot of really advanced digital technology to make this de-aged Will Smith.
I've heard
Um,
of it, yeah.
that's
So I've
like,
not watched it,
yes,
but I've heard of
yes.
that.
Yeah, so Junior is like an entirely CGI creation,
Okay.
and so I mean, I find that super fascinating. But I try to do like a little bit of everything. Try to get a survey of different sort of eras and regions and periods and stuff like that. So uh, we watch classic Hollywood films, we watch contemporary documentaries, we watch some Disney, some non-Disney animation, we watch the old Soviet silent cinema of seriousness, and then we watch a lighthearted comedy. So we do a little bit of everything. It's like sort of one of my favorite things about it.
Thank you for reminding me that I just have not seen a lot of movies. And I know it's kind of a funny lead in, but I'm just reminded of how I have, we often have these like preconceived notions of, like genres as a whole. Like, oh, I don't like horror, but maybe I like this one movie, or I don't like black and white, but there are some good black and white films out there. And like, I never thought of myself as someone who enjoyed black and white films because I thought they were boring, or documentaries because they were boring. But
Yeah.
again, actually, again, everything kind of stems back to Chicago. When I was there, I took a course on intro to film music, and it was taught by Bertold,
Oh.
yeah, Herkner. And I remember we got to go into this like theater, and we started out with black and white films, and he would sometimes play the music on a piano, which is super cool. But we watched some really, really good films that quarter, like films I would, have never watched on my own because I didn't know about it, or I would have been like, oh, it looks boring. I don't want to watch it. But really good films
Yeah.
existed. Um, and yeah, just I guess similarly with documentaries, always thought, oh, they're, you're forced to watch them in high school. But there's some really fascinating documentaries out there, especially like in the last few years that have come out. So always a reminder to just, yeah, kind of not kind of make assumptions as genres or entire fields as a whole.
And to me, that's one of my favorite challenges about teaching introduction to film is that I want to find those movies that like can inspire that conviction,
Yeah.
like I don't want to sort of use the stuff that like, is only for the hardcore enthusiasts, but I also want to give a good representation of like what these kinds of things can do. So I always make sure to show things that I feel like my students would never voluntarily go find themselves, but which they'll still enjoy, that are like close enough to the kinds of things that they find relevant or exciting. So for when I taught continuity editing, the sort of Hollywood system of editing, we watched Only Angels Have Wings, which is a Howard Hawks movie from the 30s, the young Cary Grant. And my students all had the same response, which was, it was surprisingly good, for a black and white movie, it's not bad, which is, I think, it's like, I was like my favorite kind of response, like I was surprised that I enjoyed this
Yeah.
movie, it's like, yeah.
Um, Another question I want to ask, so I'm going to take a tangent here. Also, a first time guest question I like to ask is, what are your
Hmm.
favorite places in Nevada since you haven't been here for very long? So I would love to get your
Yeah.
thoughts on, I guess, of course, I guess you've only probably been to the northern part or maybe possibly Las Vegas. But yeah, what are some of your favorite places, three favorite places or things to do in Nevada?
They're all going to be close to Reno
That's
because I have
okay.
not explored enough. Although the first place that I would say would be Virginia City, which I
Okay.
thought was amazing. I had a really good time there. Just like went up for the day and like cruised around and checked it out. And one of the things that I like about Nevada in general is like I grew up on the East Coast, and I spent all my life since I was 18 in the Midwest, more or less. And it's not just culturally distinct and geographically distinct, but like climactically distinct. And I feel like all of those things really influence my time here. So Virginia City for sure. Peavine Peak, which is a really cool hike right outside of Reno, where you get to go up, and it's like, you can do it in an afternoon or a morning, and you get up at top and you can sort of see the city below you. Like the whole idea of like a city being surrounded by mountains is also so hard for me to wrap my head around. So I love being able to like climb up and see Reno in its entirety, just this little bowl of a city, which is like a view that you in Chicago, even flying into O'Hare, you can't see the whole thing because it's like too spread out, but there's also just not a vantage point high enough that you can get it all in. So that's something that I love about Nevada. And then, I mean, this is like the most like basic entry level Nevadan thing you could possibly say, but like Tahoe is incredible. I mean, everyone says it's amazing, and then you go and it's like, wow, this really is amazing. But it's like nothing I've ever seen or experienced. Is that three things? Those sort of three things.
It was three things.
I also give a quick shout out to the neighborhood that I live in, Reno, which is Midtown, which I just have to shout out because it's just like, as a newbie to the city, it's just been so welcoming. And I feel like I've met so many amazing people just at coffee shops and restaurants and bars, and everyone's been so friendly. And it seems like there's this really, amazing organic community of people here. So I've felt very embraced by that. So I have to give a shout out.
That's great. I haven't spent a lot of time in Reno because I lived in Las Vegas for 4 years, but I get to go back every once in a while for work. And yeah, Midtown is really nice. A lot of really good restaurants and things to do and check out. I'm curious, do you go to theaters, or do you watch most of your, like, how do you access your films? Like, I guess, how do you watch?
It's a great question. Yeah. I mean, I have been to the one movie theater in Reno, in downtown, which is great. And I like going to a movie theater whenever I can. I do think that like the kind of thing that I like to watch or that is part of my work is often enjoyed at home alone. And it's only in rare, very special circumstances that I get to see them in person. So, I mean, I do a lot of viewing at home. I make it to the theater for like the new blockbuster stuff. And then I actually I travel a decent amount to go to festivals, which is like the one chance I usually get to sort of see the kind of work that I really care about in person. So usually go to the New York Film Festival. There was a film festival this past November that I missed, but that I went to last year, called the Media City Film Festival in Windsor, Ontario, which is amazing. So yeah, I mean, I find that with home viewing, for example, I need to watch something that I know I'm going to enjoy. Okay. It's hard for me to watch something that I know is going to be a slog unless I'm in a theater surrounded by people who are judging me for leaving.
I wonder, I can never remember the name of this, so it's always hard to look it up. But I want to say like the worst movie I've ever watched. Maybe it was experimental. Maybe you'll know. I don't want to say you'll know it because it was horrible, but it was like Russian science fiction, and it's about these like scientists who kind of like, I want to say, go to like this like other world where it's like medieval, like everyone's kind of like smelly.
Oh yeah.
Do you know this movie? Do you know?
Yeah, Alexei German's Hard to Be a God.
That one. Yeah, that was horrifying. Okay, maybe it's mean to say worst movie I've ever seen, but it was very long, and I didn't know what was happening half the time.
Yeah, it's one of the muckiest, slimiest movies I've ever seen.
Okay. I did consider walking out. Yeah, maybe I didn't just appreciate it then, but I think that was like the only movie where I ever thought, like, I keep on watching this, like, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, I mean, I will say that like one of the talents that my field has given me is the freedom to just walk out if I'm
really? Okay.
If I'm feeling it.
Wait, have you walked out of movies? You have.
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah. I mean, in some cases, it's like I've seen this movie 7 times, so I don't really need to see the rest of it, But I mean, I think that personally, I can endure anything. One of a film that I really admire is like Wang Bing's Crude Oil, which is I think like 16 hours long. And so I sat through all of that.
Wait, in one sitting?
2 days, two
Okay.
days. Yeah, we had to break it up so people could sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and I enjoyed it. And it's it's not like 16 hours of blockbuster action. It's like I think they're doing one activity the entire time.
Wait, what is it called again?
Um,
I'm gonna look this up.
Crude oil.
Crude oil. Okay,
Yeah, so
got it.
Wang Bing is a Chinese documentarian who's like very famous for this kind of thing, for
Okay.
making extra long
16
things.
hour films.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I can sit through anything and find something to enjoy, but I also definitely walk out of things all the time.
Okay. And yeah, Silver says the immediate recognition of the movie from that. Yeah, I'm glad you recognize Hard to Be a God. I don't know why I can never remember that. And then maybe the book's better because I know it's based on like a series.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
know that
longer. Yeah,
actually.
I think it's like a sci-fi series. I don't know if it's the first one or just part of this like longer series, but maybe I would have a better appreciation if I did. Because I was so angry.
Hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever have this like conversation about like books versus the movie. Like I know that oftentimes I feel like I enjoy the books if I've read it beforehand. If I've read the book, then I feel like the movie doesn't compare because I know everything that they're leaving out. But then again, I've never read, this is like such a confession. I've never read the Lord of the Rings books. I've only read The Hobbit. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that they leave a lot out from the series, but I like the films, but I've never read the books. So,
I have the hot take that I feel like the movie is usually better than the book.
okay.
I definitely think that's true of Lord of the Rings.
Okay. Interesting.
I love, but I read the Lord of the Rings as a kid and as a teen, probably 4 or 5 times, cover to cover, back to back. But I think the movies are superior.
Okay.
Um,
I also think about a movie that came out in recent times called Arrival. And I was so bitter when that movie came out because I loved the
oh,
short story that was based on by Ted Chiang called, I think it's Story of Your Life. Definitely check it out. If
mm-hmm.
you haven't read that short story, do so because Arrival was based on that. And I just felt like, I don't know, that just story was better. And they changed some
I
things
have to
too.
confess, I have not read that Ted Chiang
Okay.
story. It's one of my sci-fi sort of holes.
Okay.
I'm not a huge Rival fan
That's
though.
okay. Yeah.
I have to say.
Well, maybe in this case, maybe the film isn't better, or maybe it is. I don't
I'm
know, but yeah.
not sure.
I feel like our time together has really flown by, and I wanted to thank you for spending all of your time with us today. And
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, I'm wondering if there's anything else you want to share with us before we say goodbye for the evening. Like, are there any fun? You did mention you're writing a book, so maybe we'll ask that. But are there any fun?
Oh, that's not very fun
Is it
though.
not? Okay. Well, I guess yeah, I was gonna say, are there any fun like upcoming like projects or things that you're gonna be a part of?
I don't know. I actually am waiting to hear about going to this conference that would allow me to share some of the like philosophy work that I do, but
Okay.
I don't want to jinx it, so I don't think I'll share that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't
uh,
get even into the philosophy part of your work today, but I would love to
oh
have
no,
you
it's
on. No, well, okay, we're gonna have to have you back on so we can play a little bit more of Norco or a different game and we can, yeah, chat more
yeah, maybe I
about
can find like a philosophy of language game. I bet there is one.
there is, I'm sure. Actually, there's a game that just came out called Chance of Sonar that I've been wanting to play because it's very similar to another game I'm playing on stream called Heaven's Vault, but it's all about yeah, kind of this like fictional language, and you run around trying to learn
Oh,
more about it. So,
I would love that
okay, well
actually.
maybe
Yeah,
we'll
that would
have
be
to play
really
it.
cool.
We'll
I would
have you
have to
back.
expose how little I know about linguistics versus how much I know about philosophy of language.
Yeah, no, there are some really good linguistics games out there, but yeah, and also yeah, really kind of people in chat to wish you all the best for yeah the
Oh, that's
upcoming
so nice.
conference.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And then Ostrich says, yeah, Arrival's really good. We're gonna fight you on that, and the short story is quite good too. And thank you, Ferminator, for being here. Really appreciate you. All right, Dave. So I think we're gonna end our stream on that note for today, but I would love to have you back on again in the future, whether it's with
I'd love
Norco
to
or a
come
different
back. This was a
game.
blast. No,
Yeah.
this was really great. I really appreciated talking to you. And thanks to everybody in the chat for sticking it out with us. This was really great.
All right, we'll catch you all next time. Just to let you all know, this Thursday, November 30th at 12 p.m. Pacific, we'll be back on stream with folklorist and professor at UNLV, Sheila Bach. We are going to be playing, I guess replaying, because we've done this on stream already, the game Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. So we play the part of the spooky skeleton who walks across the US collecting tall tales and folklore and really amazing music. Um, and then just as a reminder, if you ever want to watch our past streams, we are slowly putting them on YouTube. So if you want to catch something that Dave said, or if you forgot the name of something, you can find it on our YouTube channel. But otherwise, yeah, we'll see you again hopefully in the future. And thanks so much for being here, everyone. Okay, we'll see you
Thanks a
again.
lot.